Hey everybody, welcome to episode 97 of Mike's Collection. I'm Mike, and the part of my collection that I'm going to be talking about today is just all the new stuff I've accumulated over the last couple of months. There's a lot here, so I'm not going to take the time to talk about each one piece for very long. Usually I try and do a review, but this is going to be such a mixed bag of stuff. I'm just going to show you and move on. So, yeah, you'll probably see a little less content from me on this channel for the next little while. I'm still enjoying doing this, and I appreciate all of you that have been tuning in and subscribing and commenting and all that stuff. That's awesome. But there's a couple of things. For one, I just got so behind on all this stuff, it started to feel like work. I was like, oh man, that's going to be like 4 or 5 videos I have to do, and it's a lot of work, and I don't want it to feel like work. So hopefully once I show you all this stuff and I'll be caught up, then maybe I can get back to posting videos on the regular and they won't be bombarded with so much product in each video. The other thing too is I'm a bit of a recreational writer, and I've started a new writing project, and to really kind of take it seriously, I kind of have to really dive into that project. So whenever I have spare time, I go into my little office and I start writing, and I can easily, hours just fly by once I get up there and start typing. And to come down here and do videos, it just kind of takes me away from that. So I'm going to continue to do videos and review all these toys. So yep, stay tuned for that stuff. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm going to be doing some writing, so you won't see me probably as much. So anyway, let's dive right into this. Now, I'm going to start with probably something that nobody out there even cares about, but it's kind of, I'm a little obsessive now that I don't like to get any new toy and just put it away on a shelf without showing it to you guys first. So I've got a bunch of stuff that I'm going to show you very quickly because you're not interested. But if you've seen some of my past videos, you've seen that I've kind of taken to collecting the Mr. Men toys. They were a Happy Meal toy over the course of the summer. So I went into a McDonald's. They had a big poster board up that said, collect these Mr. Men figures. They're just silly little hollow plastic figurines, like toys that you give to your dog or your little kid. There's nothing fancy about them. But I grew up on the Mr. Men books, so I thought, I'm going to try and collect all these. Then I found out there's like 100 different figurines, and I didn't learn about them until just a couple of weeks before the campaign ended. So I only got a handful of toys, and I showed those to you guys. Now, some people who saw me posting them kind of tipped me off about like, oh, you should check the the thrift stores in your area, and so I did, and I got this huge haul of these little Mr. Men characters. So these are the first things I'm going to show you, and I probably won't remember all their names off the top of my head, but I'll do my best. So here we have Little Miss Magic. Here we have Mr. Noisy or Mr. Loud. I can't remember which. Here we have Mr. Bump. This, I actually thought it was Mr. Happy, but somebody just informed me the other day, because I post these things on Instagram. So somebody on Instagram told me that this is actually Mr. Bounce. So there you go, Mr. Bounce. This is, I think, Little Miss Neat. Then we've got Little Miss Fickle. This is one of my favorites from when I was a kid. This is Mr. Tickle, and he's actually got little articulated arms, so you can move him around. Then I've got, I think, Little Miss Shy was her name. And this is, I believe, Little Miss Greedy. And then we've got, I'm blanking on his name. He looks cranky though, so he's probably Mr. Angry or Mr. Grumpy or something like that. This, I believe, her name is Little Miss Quick. This is, I think, Mr. Chatterbox. This is Mr. Lazy. So he's kind of just laying there. This is Mr. Mean, which seems like kind of an odd because he doesn't look very mean. He looks sad. I feel they should have given him some angry eyebrows, and then that would make a little bit more sense. This is Mr. Quiet. This is Mr. Cool, obviously. See how cool he is. This, I believe, is Little Miss Angry. This is Little Miss... I don't know. I'm blanking on her name right now, too. This is Little Miss Somersault. This is Mr. Rude. This is Mr. Sneeze. This is Mr. Fussy, who looks a lot like Adolf Hitler. And even though I'd read all these books as a kid, I actually only owned one, and my brother Doug owned one. And we got them in our Christmas stocking one year. And we also got a little accompanying, it was like a little felt hand puppet. You could put like little 2 fingers in them and control them like this. So my brother Doug got Mr. Fussy. So he had a book and a finger puppet of this guy. The funny thing is, I'm pretty sure that was intended to go into my stocking because I am a pretty notoriously fussy eater. Even to this day, I have the palate of like a 5-year-old. I eat peanut butter sandwiches and cheese pizza and, hamburgers and, not a whole lot else. So anyway, but for whatever reason, my brother Doug ended up with Mr. Fussy, so I associate this with my brother. What else have I got? This is Little Miss Sunshine. And what else do I got? Okay, I had to do a quick cut there because I had these things piling up on my lap here and they're starting to fall all over the place. Last 2 I have to show you is this one here. I think her name is Little Miss Naughty or Mrs. Mischief, one of those 2. And then lastly, this is the character that I got in my Christmas stocking. So I had the book for Mr. Strong, and I also had the little Mr. Strong finger puppet. So yeah, this has always been my favorite guy just because this is the guy that I had the book of. And yeah, he's cool. Just a big red block with a cowboy hat and a smiley face. So there you go. Those are my new Mr. Men figures. Now, since we were just talking about cute little Mr. Men figures, let's kind of keep that theme going and we'll move on and we'll take a look at my new Funko Pop figures. So I've got quite a few of them here as well. So first up, I've got Ultraman. Now this is actually Ultraman Jack, you'll see there. Now on the back of the package, there actually is just a kind of a standard Ultraman. And then there's also Father of Ultra, Ultraman Jack, and Ultraman Ace. And they all look pretty similar. They're all the red and silver. Some of them have some different head shapes. The only difference I can tell between Ultraman and Ultraman Jack is this guy seems to have extra stripes on his outfit, but he looks almost identical. Anyway, I'm not an Ultraman fan per se. I'm just not familiar with Ultraman. I've never seen an episode of the show ever. But I'm a fan of Godzilla and Pacific Rim, and so I like kaijus. I like big robots. So I think the Ultraman show might be a little too silly for me. Geared more towards kids. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But Marvel just started publishing an Ultraman comic book, and I thought that might be a good jumping on point. So I got the first issue of Marvel's brand new Ultraman comic book. Issue 2 just comes out this week, I think. Anyway, since I knew I was going to be getting on the Ultraman train, I saw this figure and I thought, you know what? I want Ultraman. I would have preferred the one that just said Ultraman on the front. But I thought, you know what, Ultraman Jack looks almost identical, so I'll just get him. So there you go, there's Ultraman Jack. And I thought that was going to be the only figure from Ultraman that I bought. Besides all the various Ultramen, there's also 2 monsters. And again, I don't know anything about Ultraman's villains or his various monsters. I don't know if the aliens are like important characters or if they were just somebody that he fought once and we never saw again. Anyway, I didn't plan on buying the monsters, but then I went into EB Games here a couple of weeks ago, and they had a bunch of pops on sale. It was like 3 for $20 or something, and they had a separate section for the sale items, and so they had the 2 Ultraman monsters. So here you go. I've got Alien Baltan. So he's kind of a weird looking dude. Again, I don't know anything about this guy, but he kind of struck me as similar to Gigan, the Godzilla villain. So anyway, so there you go. That's Alien Baltan. And then the other one I got, I think he's pretty cute. He doesn't look very threatening, but this is Canagon? I don't know how you say that. But he looks like a big clam or a slug or he kind of looks like the poop emoji, actually. So yeah, it definitely doesn't seem all that threatening, but what do I know? Maybe he's, slaughtering people by the thousands in the Ultraman cartoon or whatever, but I doubt it. Alright, so what else we got here? So I'm a big fan of The Office. I collect the pop figurines of The Office. I have a bunch of them. I've showed you them in the past. So the latest ones are Kelly Kapoor. So this is her in her casual day outfit. So she's got her little hat and her jean overalls. So I'm really happy to add Kelly to the mix for my Office collection. Then we also have Meredith Palmer, and this features her in her casual day outfit as well. Now, if you haven't seen the episode Casual Day, it's one of the funnier episodes, I think, especially this scene that this figure is based on. Meredith is wearing this kind of purple, jumper. I don't even know what you call this outfit. But anyway, people tell her, like, Meredith, pull your dress down and cover your bits there, because she doesn't have any underwear on it. She just defends herself by saying it's casual day, and she pulls her dress down, and then her boobs pop out the top, and on the TV show they pixelate her boob. So I don't know if you can really see this, but on this pop figurine, her boob is out, but it's all pixelated, so she's just got a bunch of little squares where her breast would be. But anyway, I think that's pretty funny. So there you go. Happy to add both Kelly and Meredith to my collection. Now, another one I picked up recently is Vice President Selena Meyer from the show Veep. So she was played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who I'm a big fan of from her Seinfeld days. Now, my wife had actually watched the full series of Veep before I had ever seen an episode, and she told me, you really got to watch this show, you'd really like it. So earlier this year, maybe late 2019, we binge watched all the seasons of Veep, and it is a hilarious show. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. It's really vulgar. It's really funny. And so I already bought a couple of figures. There's 4 Veep figures in this line. So my wife's a big fan of the character Gary Walsh. He's played by the same actor who played Buster Bluth in Arrested Development, which is like her all-time favorite show. So I previously bought her the Funko Pop for Buster Bluth, and then I bought Gary Walsh for her in her stocking. So we've got Gary, and then after I saw the show and became a fan, I bought the Jonah Ryan figure. And yeah, it seemed kind of crazy to not have Selena Meyer, the main character, but I couldn't find her anywhere. And I did eventually find this just the other week. And what's interesting is the figure inside always matches the box, but in this case here, it's not just a matter of, a variation in the paint or anything, but she's got the box shows her wearing like a blue dress and has short hair, where inside you'll see she's got a red dress and long hair. So it's a totally different figure. I'm not sure if this is a chase figure or whatever, but this might be the more common version. But if that's the common version, I would expect the box to represent that. Anyway, who knows? Next up, we've got Patrick Bateman from the movie American Psycho. So as played by Christian Bale. American Psycho is one of my favorite movies. I saw it in theaters back when it came out. I remember when the book came out and how controversial it was. I've also read the book. It's by Bret Easton Ellis, who's he's probably my favorite author. I've read all of his books. They're all pretty crazy, pretty intense. So yeah, if you liked American Psycho the movie, and you've never read any of Bret Easton Ellis's books, I recommend you do that. But this figure is a lot of fun. The box itself has this blood spatter on there, which is pretty cool. There is a variant of this figure where you can get him where he himself is splattered with blood, because it's recreating a scene from the movie where he's wearing this clear raincoat over his suit. He starts off nice and clean, and he ends up really bloody. So spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie yet. But anyway, I recommend you do. It is a gory movie, but I really see it more of as a dark comedy than a horror movie. So if you can get past a little bit of gore, I think you'll really enjoy it, just for the dark humor. Then we've got Batman. So if you've seen some of my other videos, not only do I collect pop figurines, but I specifically collect Batman pop figurines. So it's kind of like a collection within a collection. So every time they release Batman in a new weird color variation, I tend to run out and get it. So this one here is made for Pride. I'm not sure if maybe some of the proceeds went to support Pride in some way. But so this is a nice rainbowy colored Batman. So he's kind of cast in translucent plastic. And yeah, you see the colors of the rainbow run right across from him. So he starts off red and goes right to purple on the other side there. So yeah, he's pretty cool. It's a nice bright box. Then we got Undersea Gal. So this is the like mer lady from Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, I used to be a big Nightmare Before Christmas fan. Like, I still am a fan of the movie, but 20 years ago or so, I was trying to find whatever Nightmare Before Christmas merchandise I could. It was really hard to come across anything. There really wasn't much in the way of action figures and stuff. I had bought some stuff online from eBay, some figures from Japan and stuff. And I have quite a bit of Nightmare Before Christmas merchandise. I have like snow globes and dolls and action figures. And anyway, I just kind of got out of it after a couple of years. It seemed to become the trendy thing. You know, Hot Topic was like filled with Nightmare Before Christmas stuff, and kids were walking around with Jack Skellington on their shirts and stuff. And it just kind of turned it off for me. It became such a phenomenon. So I don't really buy stuff very much anymore. But I am a big fan of mer creatures like this. Like Merman is my favorite Masters of the Universe character. The creature from the Black Lagoon, I love him. So I actually don't have any action figures of this character from any of the previous Nightmare Before Christmas lines that I bought. So when I saw her there, and she was the other figure that I got on sale with the two kaiju figures from Ultraman. So I wasn't really planning on buying her. I probably wouldn't have bought her at full price. But when I walked in and I saw her there, and she was 3 for $20, and I saw the other two, I was like, all right, well, let's do that. And the last one I had to show you is Gerard Way. So he's the lead singer of My Chemical Romance. And this is him in his Danger Days outfit. So pretty much every time My Chemical Romance would put out a new album, it was like a concept album, and there was like a backstory to it, and they were playing different characters. Like probably their most famous album is The Black Parade, and Gerard Way had the bleached blonde hair, and they all wore these black like band outfits, and they portrayed themselves as the band called the Black Parade. And anyway, their follow-up album was called Danger Days, and it was kind of set in this apocalyptic future. They did a couple music videos that kind of built the storyline, and then Gerard Way, who also writes comic books, he wrote a comic book miniseries to kind of fill in some of the blanks. And yeah, I really liked this look for Gerard with the red hair and like the yellow laser gun. And yeah, it's just a really cool outfit and a really cool looking figure. I'm a big fan of My Chemical Romance as well as Gerard Way's comic books, like the Umbrella Academy there. So yeah, this is a really cool figure. And you'll see this is a Hot Topic exclusive. We don't actually have Hot Topics in my area. So I had to recruit my little brother who lives in Chicago to pick this item up for me, and he sent it in the mail the other day. So that was pretty cool of him to gift this for me, because I offered to send him some money for it, but he wouldn't accept it. So yeah, that's really cool. So not that he watches these things, but thanks Brian for the present. Alright, so that's my Funko Pops. I got a couple other little cute things to show you before I move into the actual action figures. So let's take a look at these things. Now actually, before I show you these toys, I just want to talk quickly about Instagram for a second. So I have an Instagram account where I post pictures of all my new toys. So if you don't already follow me on there, please do. It's Mike's Collection Halifax. And so I've been on Instagram for 2 years or so. And most of the things that I follow on there are other toy people that, post toy news. So oftentimes when there's a new figure coming out, Instagram is the first place I hear about it. But I also follow guys that take photos of toys and toy customizers. So I bought my first custom toy from a guy on Instagram last year. So my all-time favorite Star Wars figure is this original Walrus Man from the original late 1970s or early 1980s Star Wars line. So I love this guy, Walrus Man. Now, he doesn't actually look anything like he appeared in the actual film. This guy, he's wearing like an orange bathing suit, and he's got like black webbed feet. It's totally not screen accurate. He's got this pea green skin. It's really kind of goofy looking, and later figures of this character look much more realistic. He's not cute anymore. He's got an orange leather jacket, and he's got like gray skin and kind of a hairy neck. He looks like he did in the movie. But I always loved this version of this character. And so a while back, I found a guy called Healy Made on Instagram, and he was making these custom figures that are a cross between wrestling and the vintage Kenner Star Wars figures. So I ordered this figure from him. So this is Walrus Man as a wrestler. So you can see he's got that pea green skin, those big yellow eyes, the orange and blue outfit, but he looks more like an 80s wrestler. And I just thought this thing was great. Now, mind you, it doesn't move, so you can't put his arm down or anything like that. He's just a solid little piece. And he was quite expensive for what he is. He's a pretty small little figure. He's actually smaller than the Kenner figure. He's about a head shorter almost. So I wouldn't buy a ton of these things just because of the price and everything, but I thought this guy was really cool, and I had to have this particular character of Walrus Man. So that was from Healy Made, so check him out. So anyway, there's this other guy I follow called For the Love of Old Toys, and what he would do is he would take Battle Beast figures, which was one of my favorite toy lines as a kid. They were made by Takara. They were these little animals. They didn't move much. Their arms moved, but that was it. They're just little animals with armor, and they had little swords. So anyway, what this For the Love of Old Toys guy would do is he would take like wrestling heads, like a Hulk Hogan head, and put it on a little Battle Beast body, and they're really kind of bizarre and cool. Anyway, so he posted a picture of this little custom Walrus Man as a Battle Beast. So again, he's got that pea green skin, those big googly yellow eyes, and then he's got the orange and blue, and where he had the black fins in the original action figure, he's got black boots in this one. So again, a normal Battle Beast, the arms would be able to move. Those would be the only parts that move on these figures. This one, unfortunately, doesn't even do that, and he doesn't come with a sword as most Battle Beasts would. But I just thought this guy was super neat, and I just kind of had to have it to my collection. So now I have two little custom Walrus Man figures, and I think this guy's just great. And he actually came in a custom card as well. You can see the guy signed it. He said this is 3 of 10, so I'm assuming he's only making 10 of that figure. So now the artwork doesn't really line up with the figure. It's kind of odd. This is a very stylized kind of graffiti style card where he's got like an arm missing. He's drinking some wine and his eyes are shot. I don't know what that's all about, but you can see his logo there, For the Love of Old Toys. And this card, you can actually flip it up like that. So if I choose to display this guy in a card, he just kind of fits back in there, and I could probably pin it to my wall just like this. But I'm actually probably going to take him out of the card and keep him displayed with my Battle Beast figures. So anyway, just on that point, that figure, he was really cool, but again, he was quite expensive because he was a custom. It was a short, small run of figures. And so I asked the guy, is there any way that maybe we could cut a deal? And he said if I buy 2 of them, he'd cut me a deal. And so I actually got this one here. So this is Merman, who is my favorite Masters of the Universe character. And again, the head on this guy looks just like the vintage Merman figure from the 80s, except he's on this little Battle Beast body. So just really cool. Again, he doesn't move, so I can't move his arms. He doesn't have a weapon. I have lots of spare weapons from my old Battle Beast. I could probably put one in his hands. It looks like he would hold a weapon. But these guys are just really neat. This was kind of a fun little oddity. So I'm glad I picked those up. Now, just while we're on the topic of Instagram, I actually made a new friend on Instagram recently. So there's this guy who, first I started following him. I came across his photos just because I follow the hashtag G.I. Joe. And this guy posts amazing toy photography. So, at first glance, it might not look like much. It'll be a picture of a Jeep in front of an explosion. But every time you post this picture, you can slide over and see the second picture, and it's always this kind of behind the scenes video where you can see his camera pans around. You can see how it was set up. And he's got these really elaborate, every little flash at the end of a gun is set up with LED lights and wires and explosions. It's really cool. It's really elaborate. So yeah, his name on Instagram is Mate Mylar. So yeah, if you're not already following Mate Mylar and you have any interest in checking out his photography, I strongly recommend you do. So anyway, we've been chatting on Instagram for a while now, and we actually got together in real life the other day. And when he came over, he surprised me by bringing me some prints of some of his toy photography. So here you see a picture of Soundwave with Laserbeak on his arm. So yeah, like all that smoke on the ground and stuff, those are all actual like practical effects. All that lighting, none of that's done like from Photoshop. I don't know, maybe he does do some tweaking in Photoshop afterwards. But yeah, it looks like everything's all practical. And the other photo he gave me here is of the Cobra Night Raven jet. And yeah, that's not enhanced with Photoshop. That explosion that you see in that photo, that is all done through like LED lighting effects and with like cotton for the explosion. Anyway, I'm probably not doing a great job of explaining it, but it's really cool. So yeah, not only was it cool to like make a new friend, but yeah, that he showed up with those things. That's really cool. So go follow Mate Mylar. All right, so now we can get into some more like a traditional action figures. Okay, so as far as the new action figures that I've got, it's a whole bunch of stuff. I've got a lot of Marvel Legends, quite a few Star Wars figures here, a couple of G.I. Joes, and a couple of Transformers. So let's start with the oddities. I've got a couple like little odds and ends that I only have one of. So first off, I don't buy a ton of DC action figures. But I have bought a couple of... Todd McFarlane has the license to do DC figures now, so I bought an armored Batman and armored Superman figures from him a little while ago. Anyway, I just recently picked up this Batman figure from Todd McFarlane, and I just think it looks awesome. Now, this is based on the artwork from a particular series that was called The White Knight. And in it was a storyline where Joker was actually like a good guy and he was a cop before he gets turned into the Joker. So Joker was kind of the main lead in that story. And this is the way Batman was portrayed in that comic book. So it's a very distinct bat on his chest. It almost just looks like a big band of black. I really like that face design. I don't know why I'm holding it up to you. I'm going to do a side-by-side here so you'll be able to get a better look at him. But just like a big fat utility belt, boots, that come off very high boots. He has a bunch of accessories. They're all over there. I'll show you them in the close-up. But he's got like a grappling hook. You can hook that onto the side of his belt. Yeah, it's just really cool. I love the design of this character. I'm a big sucker for when DC makes figures that are based on a particular artist's rendition of a character. I wish Marvel would do that with more of its figures, because every time I end up buying a new Spider-Man or a new Iron Man, it looks pretty similar to the previous version of Spider-Man and Iron Man I bought. Maybe it's improved a little bit, maybe it has more flexibility. But with DC figures, like I have 5 or 6 Supermans over there, I've got 7 or 8 Batmans, and they're all very different because they're all based on a particular artist's style, and the way different artists portray these characters can be pretty drastic. So I'm delaying, I'm wasting time here because I'm trying to remember this guy's name right now, and I don't think it's going to come to me. But yeah, brilliant artist. The guy that did The White Knight, he wrote and drew it, if I remember correctly. And yeah, this is just a really cool looking Batman. Love it a lot. I have other artist renditions of Batman, so I'll do some side-by-sides here. So I have like Ed McGuinness's Batman. I have Frank Miller's Batman. I have Darwin Cook's Batman. So you can see here just how different Batman can look when a different artist gets their hand on him. So yeah, this is a really great Batman, and even though I kind of think I don't need any more Batmans, if they do this again, make a really cool Batman based on somebody else's artwork. Greg Capullo, this is another artist rendition of Batman that I have. Yeah, great stuff. So really cool Batman figure. Now, before I move on to this next toy, I just wanted to quickly mention that the artist that Batman figure was based on was Sean Murphy. I had to go look it up, but yeah, amazing artist, really cool rendition of Batman. So yeah, check out Sean Murphy's artwork and check out his series, The White Knight. Anyway, so the next figure I have to show you is kind of an oddity in my collection here, because I'm a Masters of the Universe collector. I have a very, I would say, near complete collection of Masters of the Universe Classics figures, and they're really cool, great versions of He-Man figures. The He-Man figures in the 80s that I had as a kid were kind of like short and squatty, And then the figures that they made in more recent years, the Classics line, are bigger and more detailed and more posable, and they're great. So I love those things. Anyway, Mattel has recently, just think it was around the start of 2020, they launched a new series of toys called Masters of the Universe Origins, which was more similar to the 80s figure. Their characters were shorter and squattier, they had less articulation, but they had more articulation than the 80s figure. Where the 80s figure, they basically spun at the waist and their arms moved forward and backwards. Now they have elbow joints and knee joints. The 80s figures did not. So anyways, I've been curious about these Masters of the Universe Origins figures. I wasn't sure, and I'm still not sure, if I'm going to collect them or not, because they're definitely a step down, as far as I'm concerned, from the Classics figures. And since I have almost every character in the Classics line, I don't know why I would need to spend a bunch of money to buy those characters again in a lesser format. But I've been very eager to find them in stores so I could at least buy one of them and kind of get a feel for them and see what I think. But they've been very hard to find. They are Walmart exclusives, and I have yet to see any of them. They've been popping up for months in stores. I see lots of pictures of them on Instagram and whatnot. But yeah, so I've been getting really tired of waiting for them to show up. Anyway, before that Masters of the Universe Origins line came out, Mattel launched a line of wrestling toys because they also own the license for the WWE wrestlers. And they did a line called Masters of the WWE Universe, where they would take wrestling characters and give them like a Masters Universe twist. It seems like kind of a weird idea, an odd mashup. I don't know if there's a huge audience for it. But yeah, if I saw them, I kind of felt the same way. Like if I see these things, maybe I'll buy one and pick it up like they did. My favorite wrestler of all time is Macho Man Randy Savage. And they did a Macho Man kind of mixed with Man-at-Arms, the old Masters of the Universe character. So I thought, you know what, if I see that, I'll buy it. But I didn't see Macho Man, and that was in Wave 1. Then there was Wave 2, Wave 3. Never saw any of them. So I finally saw some of the figures from Wave 4 the other day. So I grabbed this guy. So this is a WWE character. His name is Bray Wyatt. I'm not a wrestling fan, and what I do know about wrestling mostly stems from the 80s and maybe the 90s. I don't know anything about this dude. He wears some creepy mask. He looks like a member of Slipknot or something. But I assume this is essentially what he looks like in the ring. He's got a black leather jacket, a black tank top, black boots, black and red pants, and he does wear this creepy mask. I don't know if he wears it when he wrestles or just to the ring. But anyway, so he looks like a pretty standard wrestler. Now you notice he's got one hand is an axe. So that's kind of the twist that makes him a Masters of the Universe character, is that both of his hands, you could pop them off and replace them with weapons. So I do have his extra, this is his other hand here that I popped out. And his other weapon is this kind of like mace. So I can plug that in, so he could have two weapon hands if I chose. He can have an axe and a mace. And I actually like him better with the weapon hands. This is probably how I would want to display him. The problem is I don't have anywhere to put his hands when I've got the weapons in, so I don't really like having them floating around, and if I throw them in a bin, I'll never see them again. So I'll probably have to display him with his hands out, because on the back of his leather jacket there are a couple little holes, and the weapons here, they have little hooks on them, so you can hook the weapons onto the back of his jacket when not in use. I'll try and do that here. So you have to wrestle with it a little bit, but anyway, if I don't get it here, you'll just see it in the insert. But yeah, so that's kind of cool that you can store his weapons. I do like when figures can hold all the accessories they come with, but I do wish that you could maybe hide his hands on him somewhere as well. So anyway, I bought this figure just because I wanted to get a sense of what the figures are like, and maybe it would help me determine if I was going to buy any of the Masters of the Universe Origins figures when I do eventually find them. And I'm still unsure, because this guy's fun, don't get me wrong. Like, he is a lot like the vintage Masters of the Universe toys. He's got that kind of short little stance. He's about 5 inches tall. And he feels durable. He feels fun. Like, if I was a kid, I would probably really like this. This is a good toy that you could give your kid. Like, I wouldn't necessarily want to give that Batman figure to one of my nephews to play with, because I'd be scared he'd break. McFarlane figures aren't really known for their durability. But this guy here, produced by Mattel, they know what they're doing for kids' toys. This guy, I'm pretty sure you could throw him down the stairs and bring him in the bathtub, throw him in the sandbox, and he would fare, just fine. So he's a good, fun figure in that regard. All their pieces are interchangeable. So his arms pop off very easily, his legs pop off, his heads pop off. So you can kind of swap the arms and legs. So that's kind of a fun feature. So if I buy, say, Merman, and he's got green arms, and I want this guy to have green arms, and I want to put, Trapjaw's head on him, I can do all that. So that's kind of fun, but again, that's kind of more of a play feature. Something I would have enjoyed if I was a kid who actually played with my toys. But as just a collector, that doesn't really do a whole lot for me. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to collect these guys. Oh, one thing that is neat about this guy is he has an articulated mouth, so his jaw can go up and down. So that's kind of cool. So even though I don't know anything about this dude, I do like him because when I look at him, he looks like he could be a Masters of the Universe character. The fact that he has this creepy face really kind of sells me on it. So, so there you go. There's Bray Wyatt from the Masters of the WWE Universe. Okay, so those were the odds and ends. So now let's take a look at G.I. Joe. So again, if you've been following my channel recently or just toy news in general, you'd know that Hasbro has recently launched their 6-inch line of G.I. Joes, which is called G.I. Joe Classified. I really love these figures, but they've been a huge pain in the ass to collect so far because there's multiple exclusives. You have to go to multiple websites, multiple stores to try and collect them. They have Target exclusives, and I don't have any Targets in my area, so it's pretty much impossible to find those. It's been a real pain in the ass. So I do have a couple of the classified figures. I managed to get all of Wave 1, and Wave 2 consists of Cobra Commander, Gung Ho, and the Red Ninja. Now the Red Ninja, not only is he a troop builder, so people that find him might want to buy 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of them, but he's also apparently only 1 per box. So I'm not sure exactly how it works out. Maybe you get like 4 Cobra Commanders, 3 Gung Hos, and 1 Trooper, 1 Ninja when you buy that box. So yeah, Cobra Commander and Gung Ho, when I found them, they were like the last ones there, but I'm sure as the months go on, they'll probably be pretty readily available. But the Red Ninja, he still eludes me, and I don't know how long it'll be before I track one down. But anyway, let's take a look at them. So first up is Gung Ho. And I think Gung Ho looks pretty great. So, yeah, here he is. Now, Gung Ho, so he is a Marine. He first came out in, I think it was 1983, the first figure of him. Or maybe, 1984, probably. Anyway, so he's a character that, he's a classic G.I. Joe guy. He appeared in, the earliest cartoons and all that sort of stuff. Now, the original toy, my older brother Doug actually had it, not me, because we collected everything kind of together when we were kids. So he had half the G.I. Joes, I had half the G.I. Joes. He had half the Transformers, I had half the Transformers. So Gung Ho happened to be one of the G.I. Joes he had. So I don't have as strong of an attachment to Gung Ho as I do to some of the other characters, strictly because we grew up, him being Doug's character. But anyway, I think he looks really good in this format. Now, there seems to be a lot of people that are kind of hating on this new G.I. Joe format online. Some people are really mad that there even is a 6-inch G.I. Joe line because people prefer the smaller 3 and 3/4 inch G.I. Joes that people are used to. But I already have hundreds of those. So, I was sad to see the 3 3/4 inch line die off a couple of years ago. But I was happier that they were going to bring back something new and fresh in the 6-inch line rather than bring back the 3 3/4 inch line. So that's what they did. And they've changed the look of some of these characters. And I think it works out pretty good. I don't think there's anything they've really changed at this point that I haven't liked. And Gung Ho is one of the guys that gets a lot of flack from people online because of his outfit. He's wearing all green, and the classic one wore blue. So, like, the vintage 1980s figure, he had this blue outfit. They did a really good Gung Ho in the more recent 3 3/4 inch line, and he's wearing the blue, but his blues on that figure are even brighter than the vintage figure. Like, would a guy really go out on the battlefield wearing these crazy bright baby blue outfit? I think this looks more realistic. So I think people need to not worry so much about does this figure match the vintage toy and just accept this for what it is. If this is what Gung Ho had been wearing in the 80s, you would absolutely love this figure. People just seem to fear change and they have a hard time embracing it. But they actually have made plenty of Gung Ho figures in the years between 1984 and now where he is wearing green, so this isn't like there's no precedent for this. Anyway, I think it's a really strong figure. I like the sculpt on it a lot. Now, for one, I think this is one of the first Gung Ho figures whose hat comes off. Usually the hat is always sculpted on him. And I didn't know he ever had hair under there. I always thought Gung Ho was bald, but you can see he's got kind of a Chuck Liddell little mohawk there. The face sculpt is really nice on the head. Like that a lot. And the hat fits him quite nice. There's also been a lot of people complaining online that the hat doesn't look right, but I actually think it looks pretty good. No problems there. For weapons, he's got 3 guns. So he's got this one here, this one here, and this one here. And his backpack, so you can plug that into his back, that's removable. But it's got these little slots on the side, and you can store all the guns on the backpack. It's got room to store all 3 guns, but they don't stay in there super well. So like to display them, I think they'll stay on there, but if you were going to try and play with them, I think you'd find that they fall out. Another thing people have been complaining about with this figure is that his chest tattoo. The old figure had like a globe with an eagle on it. Now this one here is just an eagle, really. So people are mad that they changed up the design. I don't know which one is more accurate or whatever, but I do wish the tattoo was a little bit bigger. But again, it seems like such a petty little thing to complain about. I think it looks good. I think this is a great Gung Ho. So yeah, I'm very pleased with that. And next up we have Cobra Commander. So this is a figure I've been really anticipating. It seemed kind of crazy that Cobra Commander wasn't in Wave 1, but it didn't take long for them to get him to us in Wave 2, and they've actually already announced this exact same figure in 2 different colors. There's a black one with a big cape, and then there's kind of a brighter, kind of baby blue version of Cobra Commander as well. So yeah, very cool. Of the 3 of them, this is probably the one I like the best. The black one looks really nice with the cloth cape and everything, but Cobra Commander's standard colors are blue. It's got to be Cobra blue. And yeah, I think this one looks really good. Now this is a little formal looking for Cobra Commander. He's got like the sword, and he's got the little kind of half cape thing here. Everything about him looks rather regal. Now there is precedent for this. There's actually a figure that's one of my all-time favorite Cobra Commander figures that came out based on, I think it was G.I. Joe. I get them all mixed up. There's G.I. Joe Renegades, G.I. Joe Retaliation. There's G.I. Joe Resolute, I believe, that this toy is based on. And I love this Cobra Commander based on Resolute. And it looked a lot like this one, actually. It's got a very kind of regal, formal look to it. So while some people online are complaining about the kind of formal look for this Cobra Commander, I actually quite like it. But I'm open to them making a more battle-ready Cobra Commander as well. So this figure came with a sword that you can... He's got a sheath there on his belt, so I can pop that out of there. Actually, it's in there pretty good. You'll see it on the insert. I'll take it out there. He also has a gun and 2 interchangeable hands. Now, the thing that's kind of disappointing, he's got this one pointy finger hand, which is really great. I love the pointing thing. It's good for display. You can be bossing people around. But this hand here is an open gripping hand, and it can't really hold anything. He can't hold the sword, and he can't hold a gun. The other 2 hands he has is this hand is a fist. So you can replace his left hand with a solid punching fist, and you can place his right hand with a gripping hand that will hold the sword or the gun. So that's all well and good, but I really wish this hand, I wish he had a left hand that could hold his weapons, because I want to keep the pointing hand. I really like that. It's kind of a unique thing for a Cobra Commander figure. And, the sword you can store in his sheath, but there's nowhere to store his gun. He doesn't have a sheath or a holster for his gun anywhere. So I wish I could keep it on the figure. And if there was an option to have a left gripping hand, he could hold the gun in his left hand while he's pointing. But as it stands, I either have to choose between him pointing or him holding his gun. So whatever. Minor complaint. I think it's a really cool figure. So if you're lucky enough to find one, make sure you grab one. Now I have one last thing for G.I. Joe. So they announced the 6-inch classified wave, which I was excited about, but then they announced that there was going to be a retro wave. And there was a lot of rumors about the retro figures for a while, because there was some leaked images or some leaked UPC codes or something, and nobody really knew what it was. But since, toy companies now are releasing the Masters of the Universe Origins line, the vintage Ghostbuster figures are being re-released, the vintage Star Wars figures are being re-released. It seemed obvious that they were going to take the original toys from the 80s and re-release those. However, what we got in the retro wave when it actually hit was this. So This is the retro Snake Eyes that I just picked up this week. And now you'll see that the card that it came on is the vintage card. That looks like the blister card from the 80s. Now mind you, it's not quite right. The 80s card had a like a white border around it, so the image didn't bleed right to the edge. This cardboard's actually really thin. The old toys had thicker cardboard. The back of the packaging, you can see there's a file card, but there's very little information. It's written in like 5 different languages, whereas the old file card, it gave you a full write-up, like a full bio of the character, and it didn't have all the different languages. Now you can see it shows you the different characters in the line, just like on the vintage toys. So Wave 1 has Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, and Baroness. Wave 2, Scarlet, Roadblock, and Destro. So Wave 1 is just hitting stores around me now. So I'm not going to buy the Storm Shadow or the Baroness, because like Snake Eyes here, these are just redos of figures that were released just a couple years ago. This is not a vintage Snake Eyes figure from the 80s. This Snake Eyes figure was first released in 2011, I believe, as part of the Pursuit of Cobra line. And then it was re-released in 2016 as part of the 50th anniversary line. Now, it's a great Snake Eyes figure. It's one of the best Snake Eyes figures they've ever produced. So it's great that fans that missed out on it the first 2 times have another opportunity to get it. But I think it's kind of weird that they, like Hasbro is producing all these reproductions of actual vintage toys from the 80s. Except with G.I. Joe, they went with a toy from just a couple of years ago. I think most fans are a little disappointed. And to be honest, I'm disappointed too, because I'm kind of done with the vintage style of G.I. Joes. What they call the O-ring Joes with a little elastic that holds them together. I have a ton of G.I. Joes from the 80s. Most of them are broken in half because that little elastic erodes. I don't have anywhere to really display them. So if they had brought back the vintage G.I. Joe figures, I just would have not collected them. However, I collected this line in full from the like the 2000s for the last 10 years. These figures first started coming out in 2007 and they ended around 2018 or so. So for about 10 years I was collecting these figures. I have a ton of them. And it's one thing if they're going to release duplicates, I can pass on these. But already in the Wave 2 figures, the Scarlet's got a brand new head, Roadblock's got at least a brand new head and maybe some other new pieces. So it's like they're adding figures to the modern G.I. Joe collection. And so now I feel like they're going to force me to start collecting these, which is just to be collecting G.I. Joe in 2 different scales at the exact same time. It's a real burden on my wallet. So I bought this guy just as a novelty. I'm not going to open him up. I'm just going to pin him to the wall as a display piece because I already have this figure opened up and on display over on my G.I. Joe shelf. But yeah, I really hope I don't have to buy a whole bunch of these guys. I wish they would just stick to one scale. Okay, so next up, let's take a look at my new Transformers. So I have a couple. So the first one I've got here is Hubcap. So this comes from the Transformers Earthrise line. And he's specifically from a line of collector figures. I think it's called Transformers Selects. And if you've seen these in stores, they're packaged really oddly. They come in just these brown, plain cardboard boxes. You open them up and then you see the figure inside. There's no packaging, there's no artwork. It's a really odd way to sell these figures. And it's one thing if they were just selling them online to, real hardcore Transformer fans because they would know what they were getting. But I found a bunch of these. I bought this guy in a retail store at EB Games. But you don't know what this character looks like. There's no pictures of the toy on the box. There's no window box for you to see inside. Really, really weird choice. Anyway, the Selects line is intended to give us figures of characters that are kind of maybe fan favorites but aren't really popular, and maybe they don't feel they would sell really well if they put them in Walmarts and Targets and whatnot. So yeah, Hubcap here, he's a character that's been around since the vintage line, and he is, to a lot of people, you'd probably think this was Bumblebee because he's a little yellow car. He looks a lot like Bumblebee. But what Hubcap is he actually is more of a repaint of Cliffjumper. Cliffjumper himself looks a lot like Bumblebee, but he was a little red sports car, whereas Bumblebee was a little yellow Volkswagen Beetle. So they did repaint Cliffjumper yellow and gave us Hubcap back in the vintage line, and that's what we've got here. So this is a repaint of Earthrise Cliffjumper in yellow, and the only difference here is he's got a brand new head sculpt, so that's nice. It at least makes this character feel like he's a little more unique. I don't mind that they reuse parts, but when they don't even bother to change the head, then I really feel like I'm kind of getting duped. You pay $30 for this, you think Hasbro could at least go so far as to sculpt a new head. So they've done that here. My only complaint about it is I wish they at least painted his eyes. It almost looks like they're a different shade. I don't know if that's just my mind playing tricks on me, but his face is orange and his eyes are either the exact same orange or they might be red. But even still, regardless of whether they're red or orange, it just bleeds right into his face, and you almost can't even tell that he has eyes in there. It almost just looks unfinished or unpainted. And the body itself, I had the same issues with Cliffjumper. Like, this guy is really small. He's about half the size of the other Transformers in the wave, and he's the same price. So other Transformers that are like this big are $30. This guy's also $30. And he's got very limited like paint apps. He doesn't even have he's got this Autobot sticker on his foot, but I really feel he should have a big Autobot sticker on his chest there. That seems like a real miss. So he just feels a little plain. Even for his weapon, Cliffjumper has been known to have this big bazooka from the cartoons, from the comic books. So it made sense that they gave him this big bazooka. But I wish they hadn't given the exact same gun to Hubcap. I kind of wish they gave him his own unique weapon. So yeah, it feels a little lazy. But it's not bad, and I'm happy to add Hubcap to my collection because I actually did not have any previous versions of him. So there you go, that's Hubcap. So these last two Transformers I have to show you came in a 2-pack. So these guys are known as the Decepticon twins, Pounce and Wingspan. So here is Pounce, and here is Wingspan. Now, normally I never transform my Transformers out of their robot modes. If you've watched my past videos, you know that. I just buy them for the robots. I don't care about cars. That's why I never transformed Hubcap, and I probably never will. But I do like dinosaurs and animals and stuff, so when a Transformer turns into an animal, I'm always a little torn about, do I display Grimlock on my shelf as a robot, or do I display him as a Tyrannosaurus Rex? It's a tough call. Anyway, so these guys here, I'm not really familiar with them. They came out in the vintage line in the 80s, but they came out after I had stopped buying Transformers. So I never had the vintage guys. I'd never seen any cartoons with them in it. I don't think they really appeared in the comic books. So these guys are kind of a clean slate to me. But anyway, I saw them at Toys R Us. I think they're a Toys R Us exclusive. In the States, I think maybe it's a Walgreens exclusive, but often exclusives at Walgreens, since we don't have Walgreens in Canada, they show up at Toys R Us, which we still have. So yeah, I was in Toys R Us the other day looking for G.I. Joes, and I came across this 2-pack. I didn't even know it existed. And I was like, do I buy this or not? I don't know these characters. I probably don't need it. They're pretty small little guys. But the thing with Transformers is I buy the Transformers comic books by IDW, and the comic books are so good, and they have a tendency to tie in pretty closely with the toys. So where G.I. Joe is really bad at that, the comic book is completely separate from the toy line. Transformers are really good about it. So if a new character appears in the comic book, then chances are he's going to appear in the toy, and vice versa. If there's a toy, they're going to work him into the comic book, and they do it really well. Like, it feels natural. It doesn't really feel forced. And when they do that, they have a tendency to make me really love characters I didn't care about previously. So when I saw these guys, I thought, you know what? If I pass on them, I bet you they're going to show up in the Transformers comic book in a couple of months. I'm going to love them, and then I'm going to really be pissed off that I didn't buy this 2-pack. So yeah, they really kind of pulled a fast one on me there. In that I feel compelled to buy characters that I don't necessarily like just because I'm worried I'm going to like them in the future. So, I don't know. Anyway, so here's Pounce. So he turns into a cat. So I've got him in his cat mode. I don't know if he's specifically a cat or a tiger or a puma or what. But it's not the best looking transformation. Like, he's pretty clunky looking there. You can still see his robot face on the bottom. Yeah, it's not a great looking cat, but whatever. And then we've got Wingspan. So he turns into a hawk or an eagle or something, and same thing. It's not a great transformation. You can see the robot head. Just kind of, you flip him upside down, you see the guy. I don't really like being able to see the robot's face like this, because then it's just like, it just seems awkward. But if you look at him from the top or from the side, he's not a bad looking bird. He's got little bird claws on the bottom there. Anyway, he's not bad. But I really like the robot modes on these guys. I'm going to display them on my shelf in the robot modes. In the robot mode, they look virtually identical. The fact that they're able to transform into two different animals is pretty cool, because once you get them into robot mode, it doesn't even look like one guy has extra pieces. You don't really see the wings on this guy. Everything tucks away really nicely, and they look really cool as robots. And the robot mode actually kind of reminds me of Reflector or Refractor, the Decepticon guy that turns into a camera. And there are 3 different reflectors. You need to buy 3 of the same toy in order to form the camera. And so I actually have 5 refractors over there in different paint colors and stuff. And he's one of my favorite toys from last year. I absolutely love it. And when I saw these guys, they really look like little versions of Refractor. Just kind of the face design, the way the body is designed. Just really cool. I like them. So the more I fiddle around with these characters, the longer they've been on my table here. I just find myself keep reaching for them and playing with them because they're just really fun. So even though I almost didn't even buy these guys, and they haven't yet to appear in the Transformers comic book to win me over, I'm really liking these figures, and I'm glad I picked them up. So there you go. There's Wingspan and Pounce. Okay, this video is running long. I told you it would. I had a lot of stuff here to show you, so I'm going to try and move a little bit quicker here. So let's look at the Star Wars Black series I got. So I'll start with probably my favorite one of the batch here. So here's Admiral Akbar. Admiral Akbar was one of my favorite Star Wars characters. He always has been. So when I played with my Star Wars figures as a kid, Walrus Man was my all-time favorite, and Admiral Akbar was kind of close behind him. They were often the stars of the show when I played. So Walrus Man was maybe... I never really used Walrus Man as a bad guy. He was kind of more like like a mercenary. He was on his own. He was kind of like my Boba Fett, if you can believe that. Anyway, so I loved Walrus Man, and then Admiral Akbar, instead of Luke Skywalker or Han Solo, Admiral Akbar was usually the hero of my stories. I loved Admiral Akbar. And so I have Admiral Akbar in a bunch of different formats. I have the original one from the 80s. I have the later versions released in the 90s. I even have a 12-inch kind of doll of Admiral Akbar that they released in the 90s. And I was really looking forward to getting a version of him in this new 6-inch Black Series figures when they started making Black Series. But unfortunately, the first Akbar they put out was based on his look from the newer trilogy, The Force Awakens, and or whatever, the one after The Last Jedi. And it's still a fine figure, but I like Akbar in his classic white outfit with this kind of off-white smock over top of it. That's his classic look. That's what all my other Akbar figures are wearing. So even though you think, well, maybe it's good that he's wearing something different, it's something fresh, something new, I really wanted this one. So I got the version from the new trilogy, but I'm happy to finally get this version here from the original trilogy. He's got a little gun weapon. His mouth is articulated, so he can move his mouth up and down and say, it's a trap. So yeah, pretty cool. So I like him. Otherwise, I've got a bunch of Stormtroopers here. So this one here is just a generic Stormtrooper from the original trilogy. There was a previously released Stormtrooper. There's actually been a bunch of previously released Stormtroopers. I have a bunch of figures that look just like this because I have the original Stormtrooper figure. I have the Sand Trooper figure, which is a Stormtrooper with just an extra shoulder pad. I have the Han and Luke disguised as Stormtroopers. So as long as you put their helmets on, they look just like this. So yeah, I've got this guy in red, I've got this guy in black or whatever. So I've got a ton of Stormtroopers. And I will buy any Stormtrooper variation that they put out. But I need it to be a variation. I don't want to just buy the same guy a ton of times. These guys, these figures are expensive at $30 a pop. I can't afford to just buy 100 Stormtroopers just for the sake of it. But so with this guy here, supposedly it's an improvement. I think maybe it's supposed to be more screen accurate compared to the original version of the standard Stormtrooper. I'm not really sure. Like, this guy's a little shorter. His head's a little smaller. I don't know that he's necessarily any better or not. I probably wouldn't have bought this guy if I just saw him in the store. But when it was announced that there was a bunch of new Star Wars figures coming out, such as Admiral Akbar, I pre-ordered them all from EB Games. I just said, yeah, put me down for all of them. So they called me and they said, yeah, some of your Star Wars figures came in. I didn't realize I'd even pre-ordered a plain generic Stormtrooper, but I was like, all right, well, I ordered them in, so I'll take them. So there's nothing wrong with it. I like Stormtroopers. I have 30 of them over there, but yeah, this guy's just the exact same as what I had before, even if his articulation and maybe his sculpting is slightly improved. It's not enough to warrant a purchase from me, anyway. Then I've got another Stormtrooper here. This guy, I think, is called the Shadow Trooper. I believe he's based on a video game that I have not played, so I don't know what this guy's deal is. This guy would have been a lot cooler maybe a couple of years ago, having a black Stormtrooper, but it's kind of been done to death now. Stormtroopers seem to come in all kinds of different colors, so this doesn't have that really kind of unique feel anymore. But it's still a cool figure. Like, he's got this, I like the blue eyes, and not only just the blue highlights, but he's cast in translucent blue. I don't know if you can really see that, but the light shines right through here. Like, his leg is all translucent blue, his ankle, his like lower torso, translucent blue. I'm not sure what that's all about. I don't know like what that signifies, because like I said, I haven't played the game. I don't know anything about this dude, but he does look cool, so sure, why not? And then lastly, this is a guy I wasn't on the lookout for. I didn't know this figure was coming out. This guy, I believe they called him a mountain trooper, and he looks a lot like some of the stormtroopers that were featured in Rogue One. So yeah, I really like his helmet design. Like, this guy's, I don't mind getting him as a surprise because I thought this guy looked cool. I like him a lot, and even though he's similar to other stormtroopers, he is still unique. But this guy, I think, is one of the exclusives that are sold in the Star Wars park down in Disney World, and they're carrying them at Toys R Us. So he had a sticker on him that said like Galaxy's Edge exclusive or something. So I don't know if this guy's going to be hard to find at all, but yeah, I saw him and I scooped him up just because he's a stormtrooper variation. So pretty cool. Okay, we're at my last new set of toys. So we're looking at my new Marvel Legends, and there's quite a few of them here. So again, I'll try and move pretty quick. So a while ago, there was a bunch of 2-packs released. I got the Hulk and First Appearance Wolverine 2-pack. There was also some 2-packs based on some of the movies. I think the Wolverine and Hulk one was the only one I bought out of all the 2-packs. But there was another one that I was tempted to get because it had Colossus and Juggernaut in it. The problem is I already have another Colossus, even though I thought the new one was better. It wasn't better enough for me to really justify it. And with Juggernaut, I actually don't have a Juggernaut figure, but Juggernaut was a build-a-figure in one of the previous waves. So, if you bought all the figures in the wave, you'd get the pieces to build a Juggernaut. And I have most of him. So he's not displayed on my shelf, but I've got a Juggernaut head, I've got 2 Juggernaut arms, I've got 2 Juggernaut legs. I think the only thing I'm missing is his torso. So when I saw this new pack with Colossus and Juggernaut, it's like I kind of felt like, well, I already have a Colossus and I already have 75% of that Juggernaut toy. Can I really justify spending $80 on that pack? Well, the pack went on sale and I got it recently for $50, so I could justify, okay, $25 a figure, that's reasonable enough. So I got it. Anyway, so here's the Colossus. So these figures aren't particularly new. Some of you people have probably had these for months already. But yeah, this Colossus is really nice. Now that I have it in hand, I think, yeah, I should have bought this ages ago. I'm glad I didn't, let them all sell out and then one day just really regret not buying it. Because even though they're kind of easy to find now and they're getting marked down for sale, I bet this will become a pretty sought-after figure at some point in the future because it's a really great Colossus. So I'm not going to go into all the articulation and stuff. You know the drill with Marvel Legends. They're all really well articulated, great sculpting, great paint jobs. So yeah, Colossus looks great. And as for the Juggernaut, so here's Juggernaut. So he's a big dude here. You can see even compared to Colossus, who's also a big dude, Juggernaut is substantial. So yeah, he's the same figure that was released as a Build-A-Figure earlier, except this guy's got a new paint job. This paint job is more accurate to kind of the 90s Juggernaut toy from the animated cartoon. And so yeah, if you get up close on his face, it's a good head sculpt. He's got these solid white eyes, these gritted teeth. He looks pretty scary. But he also came with an alternate head, which doesn't have his helmet on, and he's got like a black eye and stuff. So it's kind of cool to get this alternate head for the Juggernaut. And he also comes with an alternate helmet that's all smashed up. So I guess after he's been in a brutal fight with Colossus, maybe Colossus punched a hole through his helmet. So yeah, it's pretty cool. He also came with alternate hands, I believe. So he has open hands. I'm obviously going to keep my Juggernaut displayed with fists because why wouldn't you? So overall, yeah, pretty cool figure. And, I think the pack is actually worth the $80. I probably should have spent that. But I'm glad I waited till it was on sale. All right, what else we got? So here is Age of Apocalypse. Now this is a figure I was really reluctant to buy as well because I already have an Apocalypse figure. And Apocalypse is not one of my favorite characters, so I don't really need multiple versions of him. And the previous Apocalypse figure is really good. So then they're releasing this version who's got these kind of red bits, those are new. The cape is new. The whole sculpt is new. But otherwise, the main look of him, the two different blue tones, that's pretty close to what I already had on the other figure. So this really didn't seem necessary to me. Plus, this figure is sold as a deluxe figure because he's a little larger. So rather than the standard $30, he's like $45. So yeah, I didn't really need him, but I saw him in the store. I was out toy hunting. I didn't find any of the G.I. Joes or the Transformers or the Masters of the Universe that I was looking for, and I kind of just wanted to buy something. And he does look great. Like, it's a fantastic figure. It's just I probably shouldn't have wasted $45 on him, but yeah, really solid figure. I like him a lot. He came with an extra hand, and he came with like a skull accessory. But anyway, yeah, pretty cool Apocalypse. Also, I have Domino from the live-action Deadpool movie. So this is Domino as she appeared as played by Zazie Beetz. Now, I actually don't buy a lot of the figures based on the live-action movies. I love the Marvel movies, but I'm more of a comic book guy. If I had the choice between a Captain America that looked like the comic book or that looked like Chris Evans, I would take the comic book one all day long. And that's the same with all these characters. So with Domino, I already have a comic book version of Domino, but the movie version is so drastically different. Like, she doesn't look at all really like the comic book version. Plus, I thought Zazie Beetz, she's hot. She was great in the role of Domino. And so I can display her next to the other Domino on my shelf, and it won't feel like I mentioned earlier, my Spider-Man figures all look basically the same. These Dominoes definitely look unique. Yeah, I think this is a great figure. She came with an alternate head. One of them has goggles on her forehead. She came with, I think, 2 or 4 weapons, and she had some extra hands. Anyway, really cool figure. I like her a lot. I wasn't even a huge fan of the Deadpool movies, but yeah, love this figure. I also have Black Tom Cassidy. So this guy is from the newest wave of Marvel Legends, where the Build-A-Figure is Guido, the strong guy. And I don't know if I'm going to buy all the figures in that wave, but my strong guy now, I have 4 figures from the set, so my strong guy looks like this. This is kind of what my Juggernaut looked like. So I hate having this much of a figure, so I need 3 more to complete them. And even though I don't necessarily want those other 3 figures, I might cave and buy them anyway, just so I can finish Strong Guy. So yeah, Black Tom here, he came with a piece of Strong Guy. And this figure, to be honest, is kind of plain. It's not very exciting. He's not a character I particularly love either, but he's a unique character that, I'm always happy to add new characters from the Marvel Universe onto my shelf. I just love the Marvel Universe in general, and the more and more characters I can add, the happier I am. What I find eerie about this figure is it looks a lot like my brother Doug. It's kind of freaky, because my brother Doug right now is going through this phase where he's trying to look like Errol Flynn, and he's growing this twirly little mustache. So yeah, when I got this thing home and opened it up, I was like, oh my god, that's Doug staring back at me. So yeah. Anyway, so get this figure if you're a big fan of Black Tom Cassidy or my brother Doug. Next up, I've got... Now again, this is an older figure, so you might be thinking, like, why are you just telling me about this figure now? That thing's been out for like a year and a half. But yeah, so this is the character Forge. He's an X-Men character. He's not one of my favorite X-Men characters. I doubt he's anybody's favorite X-Men character. His mutant ability is the power to, I think, fix things. So he's like a mutant mechanic or something. He's got like an artificial leg. I think he might have an artificial arm or something too. I don't remember. I haven't read X-Men comic books in a long time. Anyway, Forge is a character, like, I don't dislike him per se. I'm just, he didn't really excite me. And when this figure came out, I didn't need him because I wasn't buying the Build-A-Figure for that particular wave. And so, yeah, I passed on him. But then I found him for sale recently. I think he was half price. So for $15, sure, I'll definitely buy a Forge for $15, but just not for $30. Anyway, it's a nice figure. It's well sculpted. I dig his little ponytail, his little headband there. Yeah, pretty cool. So there you go. And also on sale is Blink. She was from the same line, like the same wave as Forge. And yeah, this is a character, like, it's a nice looking figure. She's an attractive sculpt on the figure there. She has some cool accessories. She's got her little, like, energy daggers. She teleports. And when she teleports, there's this ring of energy that surrounds her. So she came with this little translucent pink circle of teleportation energy. So that's a really cool accessory. The only problem is I've never read a comic book with Blink in it. I know there's a lot of people that are big fans of her book, The Exiles, but I never read that. So I just couldn't justify spending $30 on a character I know absolutely nothing about, and I didn't need to get the Build-A-Figure piece that she came with, so I passed on her until I got her on sale. Next up, I've got Sunfire from the Age of Apocalypse. So like that Apocalypse figure I showed you, if you're not familiar with the Age of Apocalypse storyline, it was like an alternate future where Apocalypse had taken over the world, and Sunfire was, all the characters were radically changed. They had crazy new designs. And most of them, I don't think were improvements in any way, but this Sunfire design is really cool. I don't know if I like it better than the classic Sunfire design, but I definitely like it. And so, yeah, I figured I'm not going to buy the rest of the Age of Apocalypse figures. Like, I'm not interested in the Wolverine version or the Cyclops or the Jean Grey. But yeah, Sunfire, I was all about this. So I'm definitely glad to get him. Translucent yellow and orange plastic. Looks really cool. Really cool design. And what else? Okay, so here is Warpath. So this is another figure from the Strong Guy wave. So I think I got like Strong Guy's torso or arm with him. Anyway, Warpath is a pretty cool figure. Like, he's pretty big and bulky. He's quite a bit bigger than the standard figure. Like, say next to Forge here, you can see Thunderbird's about a head taller or so, maybe a whole head and shoulders. He's got these big, crazy 90s shoulder pads. Very, like, there's a lot of personality in that head sculpt there. Yeah, just a cool figure. I think they missed out on him a little bit. They should have given him some knives, as that's Warpath's thing. You know what? I honestly don't even know what Warpath's power is. It might just be that he's super strong. But, yeah, I read comic books with Warpath. He was in the X-Force comic books, which I did collect back in the day. But I honestly can't remember, other than him being strong and having knives, if he did anything more than that. But, yeah, it's a cool figure. I'm glad that we finally got him. And, yeah, this one's done really well. And I got two more over there, and I can't quite reach them, so I'll be right back. Okay, so the last two figures I have to show you today. So this is from the Strong Guy wave as well. So this is Shikla. I think I'm saying that right. This is Deadpool's ex-wife. And this was another character I was a little bit torn on because I think it looks really nice. Like, it's an attractive figure. It's unique. It doesn't look like anything else on my shelf. Yeah, she's a neat looking character, but I've never read a comic book with her in it. So, it's hard to drop $30 on a character you know nothing about. But I did. One of the reasons I did is she came with this little shark dude. I also don't know anything about him. I don't know if he has a name. A friend of mine on Instagram commented when I posted a picture of it. He said his name is Jeff, he thinks. So I guess this is Jeff, the little shark with legs. But yeah, he's pretty adorable. And actually, I was in the dollar store the other day. And the dollar stores around here, they now sell trade paperbacks, like graphic novels. And they sell them for like $3 or $4. And it seems to be stuff that's quite a few years old. Maybe stuff that the bookstores just had to get rid of out of their stock. And the dollar store picked them up for cheap or whatever. I've actually bought a couple of comic books from the dollar store in recent years. And I was in the dollar store the day before I bought this figure. And there was a bunch of like old DC comic books I wasn't interested in. But then there was a graphic novel starring this character. And it was called War Zones. It was from the Secret Wars event from a couple of years ago, where there was some cosmic event and all these alternate realities sprung up. And I was actually really into that event. I bought a lot of the miniseries. I probably have 70 Secret Wars tie-ins or so. But I didn't buy this particular one because I didn't know who that character was. But to get the whole series for $4 at the dollar store, I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I bought the trade paperback. And then the next day I saw this figure in stores. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy this now because I don't want to go home, read that comic book, end up really liking the character, and then not be able to find this anywhere. So kind of similar story with those Transformer characters. I bought it just in case I like this character in the future. So I still haven't read that comic book yet, so I still don't know how much I like this character. But I'll read it soon, and yeah, it's a nice looking figure regardless. And of course, Jeff the Shark was probably worth the price of admission. And lastly, this is Sunspot, also known as Roberto da Costa. This is a founding member of the New Mutants, later a member of X-Force. He was recently in that New Mutants movie that came out. And yeah, this is a character that I've always really liked. I've never had a figure of him before. This isn't necessarily the outfit that I associate with him. in his early appearances, he was basically, when he powered up, he was just kind of an all solid black naked guy, essentially, kind of like the Human Torch. When he lights up, he's just a big naked flamey guy. But I suppose, even though that's kind of the Roberto that I grew up reading about, and that's kind of the figure I want by default, this is probably a more interesting figure. Like, the colors look nice. The red and the blue and the yellow really kind of makes it pop. You know, that little Lone Ranger mask is kind of silly and pointless. I don't know if he's hiding his identity or whatever. But, again, it's just probably a more dynamic looking outfit. So it's probably better that they went with this than just the solid, naked, black guy. So yeah, it's a cool figure. I'm glad to finally get him. My X-Force team, my New Mutants team is coming together, more and more all the time. And yeah, so there you go. Those are all the figures I have to show you. I think there might even be others I forgot to show you, but I'll do another video later. Anyway, thank you if you sat through all of that. I know that was a lot. I feel good about getting all that out of the way because I was feeling very daunted about having to do a video for my Pops, a video for my Star Wars, a video for Marvel Legends. But now I've got it all out of the way, and I'll be a clean slate. And so when I do my next episode, hopefully I'll only have a handful of things to show you, and we can do a much shorter video. So, as always, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, hit like on this video, leave me comments, and yeah, until next time, thanks for watching. Ciao.